how can we see conflict transformation as a political philosophy in our lives and in our organizations. So with that, I will start with the presentation, and I will be introducing the concept of conflict competence. You will tell me if the screen gets shared. I put it on full screen. Does it share well?
Yep, it's showing up.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, we will be talking about conflict competence. And what is conflict competence? Is the ability and the tools that we have to react to a conflict in our organization. So and we can see DAOs also as workplaces, because there's places there are places of a large amount of people, and also there is some goal orientation. So that is something that will naturally cause conflict, and it's an scenario where it's natural that conflict may arise, um, because there's also always going to be different points of view, different intentions, different ways of seeing things, and the importance of talking about conflict competence is that when a conflict arrives, you have clear ways to manage it, and that there is no um, uncertainty of how things are going to be processed by the system. So, and this, a conflict competence requires two things. And first is training for everyone, and secondly, individual coaching where is warranted. So, this is something that I want to emphasize, because sometimes we just want to have conflict management in our organization, but we just want to have the managers helping the people when they have a conflict, but we are not developing a training for everyone, or to understand this. So and that has to do a lot with what we said in the first session, that gravity is not only about conflict management like when it happens, but it also focuses a lot on prevention, and like building conflict competence in your organization lets you um, for people to break that ice that stops really the reception of feedback. Like we need to have safe spaces and for people to express feedback, and when feedback is not well received, that immediately like uh, can you everyone please mute their mics, um, so that I can yeah, have the correct order of my ideas. And yeah, and after we have this competence in our organization, and after we normalize talking about conflicts, then is when the dispute resolution services can be built. Like it's very difficult when you try to offer a dispute resolution service when there's no conflict competence, because people is going to be completely blocked, or it's not going to be facilitating the dispute resolution service. And when there's competence, it's normal to talk about conflict, and this is something that we develop by listening to others, and by learning to how to express our opinions. And that's why it's so important, also to be practicing nonviolent communication, because that way is where we can like communicate the differences, but without getting triggered by the other, or but rather being comprehensive or of their needs and of the message that they are trying to share. So yes, normally expecting that two people always sort out the difference is not realistic. So that's why we also promote this third party support for mediation and facilitation, that should be available for the organization. And this third party support, they are the Gravitons. They are easy to access agents where you can and people that you can contact, and that they are available in the community to sort different types of conflicts, maybe to have an advice process, and maybe to initialize a feedback loop. This is very interesting, because in the last we were talking precisely about feedback, and how can we give feedback to the organization. And the idea is that these 17 people that were the first generation of Gravitons, at least in the TEC, are easy access people, where you can talk to them about any uncomfortable situation that you may be living, or any idea that you want to give to another person or to the system, um, that can be channeled through them. And why it's important to have your POAPs, because after this training, the people that has at least 6 POAPs in their account, um, they will be able to appear in this kind of list in your organization, and yeah, act as an easy access point to request conflict management in the different organizations that are participating. So now I am going to start talking about what is conflict. And conflict is a different interpretation of reality. And like when we stand from one point, we may think that we are right, but the other person also from their point of view may think that they are right. And what is seen in a conflict is everyone pushing for their point of view, but what is not seen is why do they want their opinion to be heard. And more than a final truth, we need to understand why each one is attached to their positions. And this takes me to the orange example that I always tell it. That is that there were two girls that were fighting for an orange, and the mom then split the orange in half, and then she saw that one of the girls was squeezing the orange, and the other girl just like used the skin of the orange and threw the pulp away. So what this scenario like shows us is that if the two girls would have like have better communication, or maybe if the mom would have tried to gather more information from them, they could have arrived to a beneficial solution for the both of them, because they could have used the orange 100% the one that wanted the pulp, and 100% the one that wanted the skin. And that way we can have a better solution and a beneficial solution for both sides, instead of the rational solution that happens without gathering more information. And this is something very related to the prisoner's dilemma, that we hear a lot in different contexts, and is that when we don't have information of the other, we may have, or we may behave to our benefit, but that doesn't mean that that would be the best outcome for everyone, for all the agents. So basically, what we are trying to do here in Gravity is to facilitate communication and to gather more information to take a decision and to try to promote um, agreements between two people that are beneficial for both of them, rather than benefiting one over the other. And so the deepest questions to ask when we are trying to manage a conflict is, what does each part want, and what are their needs, what are their interests, and maybe try to see if they can agree that their initial position was not the final truth, and that maybe we can have a new alternative um, that is born from the integration of the other, where the reality can fit both needs. So yeah, basically, um, through communication we can promote better decisions, and by gathering information we make better choices. So it's important to facilitate this communication in order to not only see things from our own point of view, but to be able to be empathic with the other, and also understand that the reality sometimes is not only what we see from it, and that the other one also, when we understand them, they have like their reasons of why doing things, and this way we can treat each other as peers, and not impose any solution to anyone, but like trying to to promote, yeah, agreement through communication. And I bring this image because I think it's very important then to embrace conflict. We are going to have conflict every day in our lives. We are going to have conflict internally, and we are going to have conflict externally. And there is conflict with the institutions, there is conflict with other people, there is conflict with processes, there is conflict with tools. And what we need to do is to embrace that conflict, and not seeing it as something strange in our lives, but rather as a part of life. And this is something that we refer to as the shadow. Sometimes we just want to see the light in things, and we don't want to recognize the shadow, but that recognition of the shadow is embracing the whole experience, is understanding that the light is not only what exists, but that each light has a shadow, and that we should be strong enough to manage it, not only in our lives, but also in our organizations. And that's why I also say a lot that this thing of conflict management is not only for organizations, but it's also like a living thing, a continued learning that we can have every day in life. And yes, so we need to make people that can process conflict, but and then also to make organizations that can process conflict, that can process conflict, yes. And this is why we are talking about a transformative approach to conflict, because conflict is an opportunity, a gift, Conflict is normal in human relationships, and conflict is a motor of change. And rather than seeing peace as an end state, conflict transformation views peace as a continuously evolving and developing quality of relationship. So, yes, conflict transformation is to respond to the ebb and flow of life and create constructive change processes that reduce violence, increase justice, in direct interaction of and social structures, and respond to real life problems in human relationships. But the transformation guiding question is this: how do we end something not desired and build something we do desire? And this is a question that we should ask ourselves every time that we are in a conflict. How do we end something that we don't desire and build something we do desire? Because sometimes we only focus on criticizing or like analyzing the things that we don't desire, but it's also important to always propose a solution. And that's something that we always ask to the people that is participating in Gravity. We always ask them, like, what would be the best outcome for you in this situation? What do you propose? Because the idea is in Gravity is not for us to be like judges and tell the people what should they do, but rather like give people information so that they can take the best decisions, and we can help them in their decision taking. um, so it's important always to see what can be the actual solutions that people propose, and maybe start working from them to try to like meet halfway in the process of getting into an agreement. And conflict can be understood as that which keep relationships and social structure honest, alive, and dynamically responds to human needs. Conflict flows from life, and we can understand it as providing opportunities to grow and increase our understanding of ourselves, of others, and our social structures. And actually, one way to truly know our humanness is to recognize the gift of conflict in our lives, because without it, life would be a monotonously flat topography of sameness, and our relationships would be wholly superficial. So I am trying to frame conflict as a motor of change, as a expression of diversity, and that is something that carries a lot of wisdom, the conflict itself, but it has to be properly managed. Because if you don't manage well a conflict, you can end up having violence, you can end up like imposing a solution over the other, or you can like inhibit yourself from the conflict and like also um, not participate in it. But it's important to try to um, channel properly conflicts and avoid some of the basic problems that we see in conflict management, that are lack of trust in the system's capabilities to manage the situation. Like sometimes a common problem to have conflict management is that we don't trust that the system is going to be helpful, or that we think that maybe the system is biased. So like, yeah, why should I trust the process if I doubt from it? And other common problem in conflict management is to have like few communication between parts, or to have like rock solid positions, um, or points of view, or associating ideas to people and saying like, okay, this is an enemy, or making an enemy image of the other, or like ridiculing the problem, making value propositions, hurting feelings of the other person. And maybe also other problem in conflict management is that we don't have legitimacy of the agreements, like what ensures the decisions, and accountability of the decisions, and conflict resolution follow-up. All these problems that are things that normally happen when we are trying to solve a conflict are some of the things that we are trying to tackle through gravity, because we are trying to build trust in the system, so that people know that we can manage the situation, and that also that we are trying to facilitate communication between parties and try to be self-determined, so that we are not biased over one part of the or the another, and we try to meet halfway and breaks rock solid points of view by asking the people what are you willing to compromise or negotiate in this situation. Because yeah, if we want to reach an agreement, we also have to have something that we can negotiate with. It's not like, yeah, I am in my position and I will not um, give any step towards the other, but we try to like make a negotiation margin where people can like say, okay, I give you this and you give me that, or like um, if there is a solution that you don't like, and maybe there is a solution that I am proposing, what would be like a third solution that can be born from this apparent um, um, division. And also we don't associate ideas to people, or people with problems. We don't say that the conflict of that is that people. No, we differentiate the people from the problem. The people is never the problem, the individual is never the problem. There is a problem in which the individual is participating, and that's something we unconsciously do a lot, like saying, no, he's the troublemaker, or we associate, yeah, a situation with that people, but it's more that that person is involved in that situation than the people being that the person being the conflict. We also try to stay away from value propositions. We respect everyone's problems and we recognize them, and everyone's problems are equally important. And it doesn't matter if it's like lack of recognition, or um, something small, or something bigger, like acting against the values of the community. All problems are important. And then we jump into the feeling parts. um like we don't we respect the feelings of people, and this is something that we will be digging much in the NBC book club that will be starting this week, in Thursday. We will be deep diving in NBC, and why feelings are so important to be heard and to be like processed in order to identify needs, and needs that sometimes are not reflected in the conflict, and then try to meet the needs of each part. And also we bring legitimacy of the agreements, because the gravitons are witnesses of the agreements that are done through the mediation in gravity. And also we have accountability of decisions and follow-up, because we had a registry that was done in Google spreadsheet, but now we are working to migrate some of that registry into a Zen hub, so that everyone can be like can have the accountability of the decisions and the actions that were done through gravity. And this is also other thing that I wanted to say, that Gravity is still a project that is like very new, and we still have a lot of things to improve. So yeah, we are also having some changes that that you will be informed through these Graviton trainings, like the one I just said, that we are going to have our conflict registry on ZenHub, and we will like be able to give certain information, but without giving too much detail. Like, not we are not going to share the name of the people that participated in the conflict, so that yeah, we can have like a database of and that can be analyzed of what were the conflicts and what were the actions that were taken. And also, other common problem that we have in conflict management is that sometimes we don't really take into account the window of tolerance that we all have. And this is a psychological concept that is that we have like a boundaries where we we can become like hyper aroused or hypo aroused. And when we are trying to solve a conflict, it's very important to stay in the margin of the window of tolerance of the optimal arousal zone. So that you can, I am sure that all of you have experienced this. Like, you are trying to solve a conflict with someone, and then you are in the optimal arousal, you are getting to an agreement, but then you say something that the other person didn't like, and then he or she like gets upset, and then we take them out of their optimal arousal zone, and they don't want to reach an agreement, and because of their anger or because of their of their emotions, now they will be even able to throw down all the work that we have been trying to get to an agreement because of their anger. And 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 that has to do a lot of why processing feelings is so important in managing conflict. Because when we are trying to manage a conflict, we are trying to reach an agreement, a rational agreement with the other person. And when we take them out of their optimal arousal zone, they might take irrational decisions. Like, maybe, I am going to give an example. Like, I am talking with my girlfriend over, I don't know, over going to a friend's house, and like we are talking and we are going to reach an agreement. But if I then say something that triggers her anger, maybe she's going to say like, no, I don't want to go. And maybe that is because of being in her hyper arousal zone, and not because actually she didn't want to go to visit our friend. So yeah, it's very important to always to manage conflict, to be able to manage feelings as well, and manage emotions, and try to set a safe space. Yeah, because if everyone starts like getting aroused and maybe saying to the other things that they don't like, we are never going to have an agreement on that thing, because we are going to go through the branches, and then we're going to start playing like um, a game of judgment, and we lose the focus on the agreement, and then we start yeah like going through adversarial positions. Instead of like looking at the agreement, we start getting into positions of you told me that, and then I told you that this, and then it's like something that doesn't like let to reach an agreement, and rather promotes to take irrational decisions based on emotions. And why do I see conflict management as a political philosophy? because I think that conflict itself is not bad. It's an expression of diversity of interest, ideas, and points of view. It arises in all human relationships, and like crises can be excellent opportunities to grow, emerge stronger, learn, and improve. I am sure that all of us have had conflicts that when we saw them in the initial moment, in the initial stage, we thought that nothing good could come out of them, but also like after some time we can see some good things that have come after certain conflicts that we have lived in our lives, because they have given us, they have learned, like teached us things, and they have made us stronger, and they have helped us to change some things. And like when assuming that conflicts are negative, people and institutions tend to feel to fear them and adapt one of these two attitudes, like resort to force, power, or violence, or they ignore them, hoping that they will pass without addressing them. And both of these alternatives are like the ones I showed in the previous graphic, like not being able to stay in the optimal arousal zone to reach an agreement through the dialogue. And that when a conflict arises, both parties may believe that they have the only logical stance, since each sees the situation exclusively from their particular point of view. But the need and importance of dialogue is that it is a mechanism that allows the search for collectively constructed solutions through listening and incorporating the other's perspective. And that means that the quality of an institution is not determined by whether or not it has conflicts, but how it manages to address them. And this is something that we are seeing in the DAO space. And like a good DAO is not the one that doesn't have any conflict. That would be mysterious. Like conflict is a normal side in DAOs, and actually the quality of a DAO is if how can the DAO manage the conflicts that happen inside them. Yeah, I think of a quote from a book that is called Discourse on Colonialism, the Aimé Césaire. And it mentions that a civilization is decadent when it cannot solve the problems it creates. So yes, if a DAO creates problems or creates conflicts in their decision taking, in their coordination, in their diversity, the DAO should also be able to take care of that of that that dynamics that are being created inside of them. And why I say that conflict management is a political philosophy, and because in philosophy and in politics, we see that evolution is not like a straight line, and rather is like an spiral process where we all initially have a thesis, and then that thesis like brings an antithesis, and then we have a synthesis, but that synthesis then also has an antithesis, and we're also like always evolving through dialogue and through the existence of otherness. It's like if we only had a thesis and never we had an antithesis, we would like be still and don't have actually the change. So conflict is that motor of change, that existence of the other, that recognition of a different point of view is what brings a thesis to become a synthesis. So that's why it's also important not to avoid like having conflict, because that way we also would avoid change and evolution. If we are not open to listen to feedback, um, there should be like a lot of things that won't be taken into account in the system, and also the system would become rigid and not adaptable to the needs that are required in the context. And here we can see in Marx dialectical materialism, that he also talks that the evolution in history has been through the conflict that has happened between dualities, and between the dualities that we have had in our societies. And if we eliminate that duality, we never take important points of view that could help us improve our processes. And this is also very related to why conflict management can be seen as a political philosophy, because this is the political system designed by David Easton, and it says that through demands and support, the political system acts as a black box that takes decision or policies, and that are made outputs to the environment that then are received as feedbacks, as as um, as inputs for new demands and for new supports for that political system to act. So in that way, what we are trying to promote with Gravity is a conflict transformational platform, and that means a system that can generate and regenerate change processes responsive to both immediate episodes and the relational context. And we are seeing conflict as the existence of an antithesis, and evolution as not a straight line. So what we are trying to do is to have a platform that doesn't get stuck when conflict arise, but rather than that it fuels for conflict, from conflict to propose new solutions that are integrated in the system. And yeah, this is what we're trying to do with Gravity, so that DAOs are not so much affected by negatively by conflict, but rather that they can be affected positively from conflict, um, to transform and to respond to the needs that conflict was trying to show to the system. And this takes us to the framework for conflict analysis that we are trying to promote in Gravity. And it's based on, first, we make an identification of cases, and we have a referral of the dispute by the parties. And this first step, we can associate it with the people, like who are the actors, what is their relationship of power, what are their interests. And this is what we call the observation process. When a conflict arises, the first thing that we try to do is to map who are the actors and what are the interests, and we try to make this like a screening of the initial situation, and that takes us to the second step, that is the screening of the dispute and invitation to attend mediation, and is when we focus on understanding the problem, when we try to know what is the context of the problem, what are the arguments of the that are faced from the different sides, what are the aspirations and interests, what is the reach of the conflict, um, and in order to continue on the process, there should be like an invitation to attend a mediation or to attend the conflict management process. And that means that there should be willingness from the actors to participate in the process, because we cannot impose this process to people who don't want to participate in it. This is 100% based in consent, on the ideas of the two people, thinking that through communication they can reach a better decision than the one that they can take without communication. And through this screening of the problem, we also try to understand the feelings that are involved in the problem, and that are triggering the different parts. With that, we jump to the process, and we conduct an ADR process looking for possible solutions. And this is that we have a joint session with the parties, and we try to look for possible solutions. But before having a joint session, we have caucuses or private sessions with each of the parties to try to design an alternative. Because and this is something that I learned from experience, that if you have a joint session without having the proper amount of private sessions before, the mediation process can go out of control, because you need to have the parties more or less to agree on certain points, so that after during the mediation you can like certify those agreements. But if you come too raw to a mediation without having like communicated well with the parties, during that mediation things could go wrong, and some of the parties can like go out of their optimal arousal zone and throw the process down. So it's important to have a good preparation of the process before engaging in a mediation. And in Gravity, like we are going to have continued education alternatives, and we are going to have later a course that dives on mediation, because this Graviton training is like an introduction to a large amount of topics that need like everyday practice. And after this Graviton training, you are not going to be like a skillful mediator. After this Graviton training, you are going to have like the basic principles and the basic ideas of what a mediation is and how can you participate. But everything needs practice, and everything needs continued education. So also other good practice that we have been doing is that when a conflict occurs and a mediation happens, we always have like one more skilled graviton, and one graviton that is not so much trained, so that they can understand better the process. And that way we can improve the learning curve for new gravitons, to know how the process works and to get skill on the mediation process. And this is a training that gives a lot of information. But the idea is that after this training you continue engaging with Gravity, and that you continue practicing what we learn, and you continue helping us develop even better our processes, because the gravitons would be the contributors to this organization. And after we have this process of mediation, we have post-mediation administration and party responsibilities. That is that we try to look for possible solutions. Then we try to implement an agreement and be witness of that agreement, so that we can have follow-up mechanisms of the agreement. And we also sometimes design some like KPIs for the implementation of the agreement. And after that, like a month or 2 weeks ago, we also sync with the parties that participated in the mediation process, to know how things are evolving. So Gravity aims to be to facilitate a conflict management cycle for DAOs. And this is an infographic that I have to thank Acid Laser for helping me do it, because the basic idea of Gravity is that we can have always an external management layer that is involving a third party with authority to solve a dispute in one favor or the other, to solve the dispute in favor or one side or the another. But with Gravity, we are trying to implement an internal management layer within the organization, where the decisions are not taken by this third party with authority, rather by being self-compositive, and the outcomes of a dispute emerge from dialogue between the parties, from compromising for win-win solutions. And this is the process that we saw before. We first have like a referral and identification of conflicts, then that goes through internal management, and that takes us if the conflict can be solved internally, like through negotiation between the parts or with a mediation from a graviton. Then we have like an internal follow-up of the decisions, and then we have also a periodical review of transformational actions to work on prevention. And then even though that we always work around prevention, we are also always going to have referral of conflict. So this is like a cycle. But and we have transformational actions that can help solve a conflict. But if the transformational actions are not enough to solve the conflict, then we can always jump to the external management layer, and 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 um, and have an arbitration process that would have like an external follow-up. But yeah, the idea is that not everything has to be solved by a third with authority, but that rather we can have third sides that only facilitate the communication between the involved parts. And with that, I want to invite you to one of our continued education activities. Is that we are going to have a nonviolent communication club that will be starting this Thursday, 30th of September, after the TEC community call, that is 8 p.m. CET, in the DAO Book Club server. And you can join the Discord of the DAO Book Club here. And the PDF of the book that we will be reading, starting on chapter 1, is this one, is Nonviolent Communication, a Language of Life, by Marshall Rosenberg.
Could you drop that link in the Gravity text channel just because we can't get to the slide?
Yeah, perfect.
Thank you.
Perfect. I thought I shared it. Yes, yes, it is. I shared it today at 1 p.m.
Oh, groovy. Thank you.
Yeah. Also, do you have any questions? There's other thing that I missed saying, but yeah, I want to open the mic a little bit. Okay, then I am going to go in this reading that was in the pre-reading pre-learning list, but I didn't add it to the slides, so I will be talking about this, and I will jump to the conclusions because it's a little bit long. Yeah, but the idea of this reading is that sometimes we promote false selves in organizations, and that also like promotes an organizational identity. And what is a false self in an organization? It's a self where you are only seen like an object, or like as a part of like a wheel in the structure, but we are not but you are not taken as a full individual who has needs besides the organization. And what I am trying to say is that we should promote authentic selves in organizations. And what is authenticity? Authenticity is to be able to say, "Hey, today I'm not feeling well." And sometimes we promote these false selves, like you have to be good all the time, you have to have be available all the time, and you have to deliver all your things perfectly. And that like really makes a false idea of who we are. And we should promote true selves, and spaces for to have like this potential space that can come out of conflict, to be something creative, and yeah, to not invisibilize this human side that we all have. Yeah, like sometimes we only talk about work in DAOs, and that's all why I always like talk about that it's important to have lounges or spaces for people to talk about non-related to work things, because we are not only like the avatars in our screen, and we are human beings, and we all have different problems in our life. And it's important to have a space to feel support from our community in and to help each other in the different problems that we may be living. Maybe you are acting really good in your job, but you are having an interpersonal conflict, and that isn't making you to be happy by collaborating. And the organization shouldn't only care for the collaboration to reach goals, but also for the well-being and the development of the people who is inside. So yeah, I think it's important to promote safe spaces, to talk about conflict, and to request support from the community. And this also fosters advice process. In the last call, we were talking about the advice process and how can we foster it. And I think that through lounges and through safe spaces, we can make that our organizations and DAOs understand more the authenticity of the people, and actually deal with people, and not only treating people as numbers, or as only caring for their contributions, but also caring for the well-being. Also, I think this is something that would help a lot the DAO space, because DAOs are trying to be like better institutions that the ones we have now, and I think that to have these better institutions is not only to make them like faster or capable of doing more things, but also that the people who participate in them feel well treated, and that they feel that their needs are taken into account in the system, and also that they have a voice, because we cannot promote agency in the DAO space if we don't give voice to the people, and giving voice to the people is making all these safe spaces to be able to talk about conflict, to talk about diversity of points of view, and to recognize that shadow, in order to be able to work on it, because if we never recognize the shadow, we will never be able to work on it, and these spaces to bring up the shadow in organizations are really important.
Juan, you're on fire.
Sorry.
No, it's great. I have a question I'm holding. I missed a visual. Like I just wasn't looking at it as much as I wanted to. There was a slide after the swirly ones and the triangles. It was like a curly Q and then a bunch of triangles. There was a slide after that. I think it was a dialectic circle or something like that?
I am going to share again. Which one?
It came after the dialectic. I don't know if I'm saying that right. Cycle.
Yeah. Well, I am sharing
Yeah,
this. Yeah,
I
this
saw
is the
that one.
dialectic.
Yeah, I didn't catch the that one. Yeah, there was a lot happening on that.
Yeah, this is from the first lecture that I sent in the pre-learning. Is
Yep.
Jean Lederach. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Yeah, I can't
Yeah.
recall where I see things. We get so many things. Thank you.
A conflict transformational platform should be short-term responsive and long-term strategic. The defining characteristic of such platform is the capacity to generate and regenerate change processes responsive to both immediate episodes and the relational context. Yeah.
Juan, would it be okay to double check the link that I posted on the Graviton channel if it's the correct one?
I am not hearing well, sorry.
Oh, would you mind linking the book club server on the Graviton channel? I linked one on there and I asked if that's the correct one, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, it is that one, the DAO Book Club server.
Sweet. Also, to view this presentation, we need to request access.
And I started getting the sweats and getting all hot. Yeah, and I was like,
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, but I will get it open right now. And the other thing that I wanted to say is that I really want to hear everyone's voice here, and the ones that are able to stay, it would be good if we can have some time to get to know each other and get to hear different voices. I felt that I talked like an hour completely, and yeah, for me it's really important to know which brought like what brought you to this training. What is your relationship with conflict, and also like maybe you're representing a organization. and maybe I can start doing that.